Well, I
looking.
haven't changed my mind.
Well, I mean, I'm just
You're
saying.
just saying things happen.
Well, you changed your mind. You changed your mind about me. You changed your mind.
I changed my mind about how I could handle our friendship.
Hey, Conscious Crew. Welcome back to the Conscious Creative Corner. I am your host, Sia, the transparent therapist. Today, we are diving into the relationship cycle, not romantic, but more friendship based. From the euphoric bond to the breakup. Grab your best friend or your ex-best friend if you're messy, and let's get ready to go. But before we start, if you are feeling my podcast, you love the vibes, gal, boy, go and rate or review on your listening podcast platform. So we're talking Spotify, Apple, I think Google, Amazon. I'm on all those platforms. Do me a favor because it means so much to me just to go rate and review. If there's something you want to see changed, let me know. If it's like, hey, I don't really like it, let me know because I'm here for y'all. Now, if y'all totally left field, I ain't changing a thing unless God calls me to do that. And that's a conversation me and the Lord are going to have. Today, I want y'all to really listen because I know a lot of us have friends that we cycle through. And sometimes it leaves us thinking like, is it me or is it them? We're going to showcase, or like what we like to call in the clinical world, do a case study very briefly on b.simone and Meghan Ashley from the Know For Sure podcast. If you guys don't know the Know For Sure podcast, you might not because it's no more. It's officially over. I think it ended sometime in maybe December of 2023 or October, a little ways back. Right. But it was a great podcast. It was Meghan and b.simone. Y'all know b.simone. I need a boyfriend. That girl, right? Or the one that's like, I can't have no 9-to-5 man. That's b.simone. I really don't know what Meghan Ashley is known for, but I know that her and b.simone were great friends. And now Meghan is pursuing her solo career, and that's fine. The thing is that these people were friends. They were best of friends. And unfortunately, they ended their podcast, which also ended their friendship. The thing is that sometimes people who have joint ventures with friends, they go for a good run. And then it's like when the business ends, their friendship has to end too, because people just don't know how to separate the two. And it can be very difficult. I know for b.simone, she really wanted to keep the business or the podcast going. And Meghan is just like, girl, how am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to keep being friends with you while stuff has been going on behind closed doors? And I have a clip that I want to show y'all. Well, two. One is their interactions where they're dealing with conflict. And then the second is the actual breakup. A lot of this footage you cannot find online anymore. So I had to do some digging because I heard it from way back. And y'all know my internet friends from YouTube University always got something. So I found something and I pulled it from there. So I'm going to have y'all listen to it. But honestly, their platform was amazing. Initially, their platform was used to talk about guidance, friendship. They talked about like faith-based things, and they don't have that space anymore. Meghan has since then created her own podcast where she has some of the old episodes from Know For Sure there. But it was a dramatic split, y'all, because I think at one point they weren't even following each other on social media. That was last year. I don't know if things have mended. I don't know if they went through friendship therapy, which I might start offering a lot of y'all, because a lot of my clients and patients listening, a lot of the issues y'all go through is friendships. And I mean, insurance is not going to cover no therapy for friendships, but still, I think it's really good if you guys can find a space to just sit in front of a professional that can help guide you through these things, because obviously b.simone and Meghan didn't get that opportunity, and this is where we are. So at this point, let's explore friendship, y'all. I want to break down the cycle of relationships. The thing is, usually I use the cycle of relationships for romantic relationships, but honestly, you can use this for any relationship, familial, friendship. It might not work so much for familial, but definitely friendship, okay? So one of the first cycles or stages is your euphoric bond. This is when you're in the initial stage of the friendship or romantic relationship where there's excitement, you're kind of infatuated with the friendship, you want to spend time with them all the time, you're ready to take a girl trips all the time, you're ready to hit the gym with your bro all the time. For those of you guys who drink on my podcast, you're going to the bar with your bro every day. I hope not every day, but something along those lines. But that is the euphoric bond. This is where a lot of high level of attractions are formed, and you're just like, hey, I love this relationship I have. The next step in the cycle is your doubt and realization stage. This is after the initial euphoric bond has faded. This is where you typically start to have doubts or questions about your relationship or friendship. Is she really a good friend to me? Is she just using me? Those are the kind of questions that come up. You're questioning the strength of the bond the two of you have. In this stage, you'll have like a lot more introspection as well, right? So you're a little bit more quiet. You're reflecting on how the relationship helps you, or if it doesn't. This is where you do it. Then we move on to the tribulation period. You are trialing through. This is when the doubt and realization phase leads you to challenges, right? So maybe your friend says something out of pocket. Maybe you're getting the ick from your friend because he or she or they might be doing something you don't really appreciate. In this tribulation period, you might see a lot more arguments, a lot more disagreements. Facing like difficult circumstances together might be a little bit harder to navigate. That's when you'll see this. And then you have your stabilization period. So if your partner or your friend successfully overcomes the tribulations that you two had, the challenges that you two shared, you then might be able to strengthen your bond a little bit more and everything becomes really stabilized. And again, I want you guys to think about this as a circle, right? Circular or circular. I see it. I don't know, one of those, right? Think about it in that cyclical, there we go, the cyclical pattern, right? Think of it in that stage where there's no like real starting point, although usually it's the euphoric bond that starts it, but any one of them can happen and bounce back and forth because it's not linear, it's not a line, okay? So then once you move from the stabilization, you're finding balance in your relationship, you then go to the affirming bond stage. In this stage, it's where you kind of secure your connection to your friend or your partner, and you feel really committed to them. It's like, hey, I know this person has my back, or I know that we weathered the storms together, so nothing is going to really get in the way of our friendship. And that's a really amazing feeling to know that you have a partner or a friend. In this case, we're talking about friendships where it's like, hey, we got through this really hard thing together, and not trauma, but just like a difficult situation or challenge, and we're still standing. That feels really good. It helps promote ongoing growth, which then brings you back to the euphoric stage, where it's just like, oh, I love her. That's my sis. That's my bro. That feeds, right? A lot of times, like I said, these things are not linear. And because they're not linear, we can find ourselves kind of feeling like we're stuck in the tribulation period, or we're feeling like we're stuck in another stage and we're never quite making it to stabilization. Now, I want to apply these stages to b.simone and Ashley. I'm going to play a clip here. And in this clip, you're going to hear, some of it you might not be able to hear, but in this clip, you're going to hear the producer ask them like, yo, are y'all good? Do you need a shot? Do you need to take a break? You're going to hear Meghan say like, nah, because if I take a break, B's not going to be on it. And they're saying like, I'm not feeling it. And what's interesting is they kept this portion in their podcast. So you can find this, and I think this episode is still up in their podcast. And b.simone is like, I kept this here because I want y'all to understand the rawness of the relationship I have with Meghan. Here's the thing though. Meghan's worked for b.simone prior to them starting this podcast. So we understand power dynamics and power shifts. And it's so hard for us to move from like a worker, maybe not a worker, it's not a good term, but it's hard for us to move from a space of, hey, this person was my boss and now this is my bestie, and then going back to, hey, I'm working with this person. And that's what b.simone wanted. That power shift is really difficult for a lot of people if they're not self-aware. So listen to this portion of the podcast that they had. This is prior to the breakup. This is just a conflict they had. And of course, in friendships, we're going to have conflict, but take a listen.
I felt like that was that time. I felt all the time. We laugh all the time.
So let me tell y'all a story about last night. Well, we talked about it a little bit the episode with Bree, but it was really the restaurant. That fucking restaurant, bro. But we were smoking, so we were like,
I just think we were tired and
I was high. That's the truth. The truth is, I was high as fuck. We lasted like, okay, after the restaurant, we came back to the room. It was me, Amani. She kind of wasn't in there. Ashley.
No, she was in there.
On the bed? Passing gas.
Yeah. Yeah, that was me.
So, y'all know the fetal position? That's the best way to get gas out of your stomach. So, all the people that aren't watching, I am about to show you
the fetal position. The fetal position. The fetal position is this. That's not the fetal position.
She's like, I just got in a fetal position. So if you ever get gassy, get in that position and it'll come out very easily. So to kind of sit in that position for 30 fucking minutes passing gas as we're having intimate conversations on the bed with 5 bitches. And gonna say excuse me every 5 minutes. Like, all right.
Wait, she has manners. Excuse me.
So yeah, we laugh every fucking day for hours and hours at a time. So the answer to that was last night.
Well, all the time too.
Next question.
Another one.
What about do your best impression of me? Do that.
You got to give me a scenario.
When I'm hungry.
You're evil. When she's hungry, she has no tolerance or patience for anything. Like
our waiter last night was an asshole though.
I don't think he was.
He was like, I mean, the kitchen's backed up. Don't I mean me? If your tip depends on it, bet.
Like, what do you want him to do?
Be pleasant. I used to be a waitress. Just like you said in the last episode. You're always interviewing, sir. You failed the test. You're lucky Bree paid for the dinner because, baby, I would have wrote a message on that receipt. And it would have said, be better.
He's like, with what?
Wait, so what's the impression?
I can't do it. I'm not good with impressions. You know I'm not good with impressions. But I just, when you're hungry, it's like,
all right, let me do one. Give me a scenario.
Food needs to be hot and ready with sauce. Ready to go. What did you ask me?
Let me do one of you. I said, just say, give me the scenario.
Oh, a scenario. I don't know. What's the easy impression?
Okay, so look, I'm trying to get these lights down, and Saturday, you keep saying you want to leave on Saturday at 6 a.m., but I already looked at Delta. The flights are not possible for that, and honestly, the next day we have to go all the way to Cleveland. So if you could just give me a heads up, preferably before noon, because that's my good impression.
What, being detailed?
Detailed.
All
and I'll be like,
you don't care about.
Whatever you think. Whatever you think. All right, next question.
Tell me by noon.
Huh?
He said, I need you to tell me by noon.
All right, are we just going to go to the next question?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying. I'm like,
y'all listen to it. You see how, if you're watching this, you can see the demeanor of Meghan and how her body is very cold. It's turned away from b.simone is pretty open. And it led me to believe, like, wow, b.simone compartmentalizes really well, because she went into the podcast knowing, like, yo, things are not right, but she switched and went into her business owner, was like, hey, I'm about to get this money. So whatever we had going on 5 minutes ago don't matter because we got a job to do. Whereas Meghan is more so like, I can't do this. Like, we need to talk about what's going on. This is where we talk about attachment styles. I believe that b.simone is more of a dismissive attachment style. And we see these attachment styles again in our family relationships, our romantic relationships, and our friendship, platonic relationships, where a person that's dismissive, they're more so, they fear intimacy, right? And so think about fear of intimacy in like a friendship base, right? They avoid emotional closeness. So it's like, hey, look, I don't even want to get into those emotions right now because I don't have time for it. I don't have space for it. I just want to think about the logic of this. So they're tapped into their logical mind. Whereas Meghan seems to be a little bit more anxious avoidant. And these people who are anxious avoidant, they have like a constant push and pull, right? Where they're craving connection. They need to talk about it right now. The emotions of what's happening for them is so real, it's super evident, where it's like, yo, if I don't talk about this right now, we're going to have some problems, right? Or I'm not going to be able to function. And that's what we're seeing in the dynamic of the clip you just saw. These dynamics can wreak so much havoc in friendships if it's left unchecked. Right. We're going to feel a lot of misunderstandings. And this is what happened in the dynamic between Meghan and b.simone in the clip we just watched, because Meghan's like, I'm not feeling it. b.simone, like, underlying is like, all right, let's do the next question. All right, next question. And Meghan is just like, oh, you know, she's not saying those words, but she's not giving the energy she usually gives. The power shift, once again, is tricky, right? And so now I'm going to play the clip for y'all to listen to. And again, viewers, it's a still image, but you could hear it as well, of the actual breakup, a part of it, and how they're feeling. This isn't the whole episode because I cannot find the episode again, but this is a part of what happened. So just take a listen.
We have a healthy business relationship. Our personal relationship affects our business relationship, but our personal relationship isn't a focus.
But
do you see what I'm saying?
No, I do understand what you're saying, but I'm saying the point of going to therapy is to hopefully mend that. It's going to look different. I don't feel like it's going to be exactly the same. We went through so much. We're two totally different people. It can still be mended in the midst of therapy, but I do feel like the focus is the purpose. And I feel like our focus is no for sure. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. We just see it too differently. No for sure happened because of our friendship. At the end of the day, we weren't two strangers that came together and decided to do a business. We were best friends who built this business off of our relationship. So that is KFS.
Right.
But if we don't have a personal relationship, I don't know how we have KFS.
We will have a personal relationship. Having a personal relationship doesn't mean it looks like exactly what it was.
Right. But I'm saying what it was is what built this.
Which is fine.
That's what I'm saying. It just is totally different now. And it's it feels like the purpose is the purpose shifted right now. There's nothing that's conflicting right now because we just don't have a relationship. So I don't know if that's necessarily a conflict.
You're saying uncertainty as far as we're standing?
Yeah. It just feels very uncertain.
Really?
Yeah.
Even with like me saying this is how I feel, this is like being very upfront with that?
As far as what?
Our conversations and stuff. Like do you feel like I'm not clear when we have dialogue on where I stand? Or
I feel like, without trying to divulge too much, I feel like in recent conversations, you've been very clear about wanting a business relationship only.
Right.
So, and I think that that's going to be very difficult to navigate. I just think that conversation is difficult. I don't know how you go from somebody being, such a good friend to I don't want a relationship with this person anymore. Yeah, it's different. It's difficult.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. And two, because we never wanted to be that podcast that, and this is probably why they say don't start a podcast with your friends, because people change their mind. And then it's like you got this business together and you got all these people that are like,
well, I haven't changed my mind.
Well, I'm just
saying things happen.
Well, you changed your mind. You changed your mind about me. You changed your mind.
I changed my mind about how I could handle our friendship.
Right. So you changed. That's the same thing.
I know,
you changed
but
your
you're
mind
saying like people change their mind. Like I was just like giving up or.
It's so sad, right? Because if you ever had the opportunity to listen to the whole podcast, b.simone, it's like she was begging for the I can't even say friendship. She was begging for the podcast to stay together, right? And Megan's like, I can't do that, fam. I can't. I don't know how to create that shift again, because now we're bouncing back from, I worked for you, I don't work for you, I work with you, now I'm going to be working with you again, but we have no emotional connection right now. And that's really hard. I've seen it happen. I think Sham Booty, Sham Boudrar or something like that. She's somebody I watched maybe 15 years ago. This is before I knew anything about being a therapist, but she's a sex therapist, and her friend used to do like business together. She even goes in to talk about how breaking up friendship and business can be so hard, because it's hard for you to mend that friendship or platonic relationship again. And so I really felt for b.simone and Meghan when they were going through this, because it's sad. It's really sad to see when we have two great people doing amazing work together, but then their friendship outside starts to break down or deteriorate the business that they've built, which is why it's very wise, maybe not to mix business and pleasure, unless you are really good at compartmentalizing, but still emotionally connecting, because b.simone can compartmentalize, but the emotional connection is just not there. And that's something that Meghan needed. It's important, if you don't know, to understand your attachment styles. Understand how you show up when you're interacting with other people, because that's going to give you a little bit more insight on how you're going to handle conflict when it arises. Are you going to run because you're dismissive, because you can't handle emotional turmoil or connection? Are you the avoidant or anxious avoidant, I should say, where it's just like, hey, we got to talk about this right now. And the other person is like, I can talk, but I need some space. And you're like, no, I got to talk about this right now, because you're fearing, that rejection or abandonment. Really understand. And if you don't know, hit me in the comments below, leave a review, and tell me if you want more information on how to understand this. In the show notes, I also have a book that you can read if you guys like reading about attachment styles, and it gives you a little bit more information on how to understand your attachment style and how it develops, because a lot of these things develop from childhood. And if you don't have a secure attachment style, which a lot of us do not have, figure out ways to build one, because it's never too late. It might be a little bit harder, but it's never too late. So I have a challenge for you guys. I want you to reflect on your own friendships and identify what stage of the friendship cycle you're currently in. Maybe with the bestie you're listening to this episode with now, have a discussion about it. Or hit up your friend and be like, hey, where do you think our friendship is? I think it's really important to do assessments to understand where you are in your friendships, how you show up, and what stage you're experiencing while your friend might be experiencing something else. Because for Meghan, I'm pretty sure she was in the tribulation stage. And for b.simone, just presenting wise, I think she went through the tribulation stage, but then she kept bouncing back to the euphoric stage, because you're like, this is great. I'm doing a podcast with my best friend. Everything's great. And Meghan's like, no, everything is not great. We're showing up on camera and we're not this hunky-dory outside. So it's really good to do an assessment of yourself. So I'm going to challenge you guys to do that. Share your insights with us in the show, not in the show notes, but in the reviews or in the comment section, and let me know. All right, y'all. Thank you for vibing with me today. Big up yourself, walk good, and make sure you tune into the next episode.